You've been watching our ongoing live coverage of the Senate Armed Services Committee on that chaotic and deadly withdrawal from Afghanistan. Top brass there testifying today before the committee. You had CENTCOM Commander General Kenneth McKenzie, SecDef Lloyd Austin, also Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Mark Milley. For more on this and what we've been hearing, let's bring in ABC News national security and defense analyst, also former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, Mick Mulroy, and former U.S. Army Ranger Jericho Denman. So, gentlemen, a lot to digest here and sift through. I mean, bottom line, the whole purpose here was to address lessons learned. I will tell you one thing that stood out to me and concerns me, not only as a journalist who's been in country, but as a mom, as a wife, living here in the United States. Hands down, they all agreed that the Taliban is a threat and that the Taliban has not cut off its relationship with al-Qaeda. And if we go back 20 years, for the whole reason why we were in Afghanistan, it is because of the Taliban protecting al-Qaeda, allowing extremists to thrive and attack our country. And there we had 9/11. So, Jericho, let me just start with you. Overall takeaways for you. And then, Mick, I'll get you to chime in.
Big takeaways for me. It seemed split right down the middle. You had one side that was looking to blame the president for the withdrawal, and the other side looking to get lessons learned from the last 20 years. And I think the big takeaway for me was lessons learned are different than holding people accountable. And I think there are a lot of people that made mistakes over the last 20 years that we absolutely need to hold accountable for their actions or lack thereof.
And what are the mistakes that you have observed of someone who's also been in country and fought within that war? What did you hear? Were there any individuals that were properly held accounted for? And do you actually see something coming out of this thus far from what you've heard? I mean, the questioning has been pretty tough.
Right. A theme that I noticed was there were a few phrases used by the secretary over and over, which we didn't anticipate this, we didn't assess this, or we missed this. But the fact is, they ignored a lot of things over the last 20 years. As someone who was on the ground and passing up these recommendations, passing up these lessons learned that we've been learning the same lessons over 20 years. And they were always kind of passed off as, people on the ground not understanding the big picture. When the fact of the matter is, we understood our mission, and we were passing up these things about, Afghan forces, about the missions that we were executing, and how they weren't pushing us forward in ultimately achieving our goals. And those were always, again, brushed off as us not understanding the big picture at the tactical level. And those are ultimately the things that are, circling back and making us end up here.
Yet, Jericho, you mentioned the secretary that seemed to be a little more political, a little more diplomatic about the way he spoke and how he addressed these questions. But General Mark Milley was very much straight to the point, saying that he didn't want to withdraw, that troops should have remained. He took quite a different stance when it came to how he felt with regard to how things went down.
Right, and I think the ultimate recommendation that he made of having the 2,500 to 4,000 troops is really what's been recommended all along. For me, at the tactical level, having seen it and understanding, the things that are not working. Like I said, these lessons learned that we're bringing up now are lessons learned from 2003 or 2004 and on. We've been saying the same things. They've just been being ignored, or they've been being filtered as they go up the chain of command more and more, to where by the time they get there, the telephone game has made a completely different message than the one that's trying to be communicated from the troops on the ground.
Mick, so far, what have been your takeaways?
So good to be with you, Kira. I'd say that the biggest takeaway you guys just discussed, which is the entire military chain of command, from the chairman to the CENTCOM commander to the commanding general on the ground, all recommended that we keep a residual presence in Afghanistan to preserve what we've won the last years. And I think that's now very clear that it was both to the last administration and the current administration. Obviously, the commander-in-chief makes the ultimate decision. That decision went against all three senior military advisors that they had, and I think that is significant. Another point that General Milley made on the over-the-horizon concept, I think he is spot on. Finding and fixing is the actual problem. And we removed, and I spent 2 years in Afghanistan, 2+ years in Afghanistan, in the intelligence world. And I can tell you that the structure that we built there is now gone. And the ability to find and fix the threats that we think are emanating from Afghanistan to the West is going to be seriously degraded, if not eliminated. And the over-the-horizon concept hinges on that ability. And I think General Milley was very clear that it's going to be very difficult.
Not only an intelligence perspective, Mick, but also assets. I mean, they made it very clear about losing Bagram Air Base, airspace, allies, even a concern about its relationship with Pakistan, the country that supported al-Qaeda, even hid Osama bin Laden in their country when we were searching for him for months and months. So I mean, it's not just a loss of intelligence, but also all the surrounding assets to try and ward off another type of 9/11 or a chance for extremists to grow throughout the region.
Exactly right. I mean, Bagram, we should have kept Bagram open during the evacuation, at least till all the diplomatic presence was out and the American citizens and SIV holders. And without it right now, if we elect to do a counterterrorism operation back in Afghanistan, we no longer have air superiority. Right? We can fly in assets from Qatar, which is 1,000 miles away, and that is doable. And we have the most powerful, most military projection of force out there. But it's still going to be very difficult. And to your point, I think we're already seeing terrorist organization use the vacuum that was created by our departure to regain strength. The deputy director of the CIA has already said that within 1 to 2 years, al-Qaeda will have all the capability to attack the West. I think it could probably happen actually sooner. We already saw ISIS-K operating there. I think it's quite clear that we're going into a period where Afghanistan will be a safe haven for terrorist groups whose purpose is to attack the United States. They don't exist for any other reasons than to wage war with the West, and that's what they're going to do.
There's a reason why we haven't seen another 9/11, another attack on America for 20 years, and it just sends chills up my spine to hear what our military brass said today and their fear that now that the Taliban is in charge, that we could see an attack like that again. Mick Mulroy and Jericho Denman, I know we'll be talking a lot as the days, weeks go forward. We'll continue to monitor the hearing, of course. Thank you both so much. We will continue covering it throughout the day. Appreciate you both. Coming up, the family of Gabby Petito is holding a press conference shortly. We are going to bring that to you live with more on its investigation and search for her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, straight ahead.